Hello, this is Craig James here from MasculineByDesign.com. This is the Masculine by Design Mancast. It's episode number 13 of the Mancast, and today's topic is on building a coalition of masculine men. So I'm going to talk about how I'm doing that in my life, how I'm building a coalition of masculine men, what my goals with that are, how I'm going about doing that, what strengths that's going to serve in my life and in my ability to reach others with the message of masculinity, and also in how I can help others achieve their goals, other masculine men that I connect with, that I develop friendships with, that I can help them with the skills and experiences that I've had to help increase their exposure and their influence in spreading the message of masculinity. Before we get into that, though, I just wanted to ask everyone listening to do me a big favor. This podcast is getting some traction, and I really am encouraged by the number of listens that I'm getting. It's exceeding what I expected as a new podcaster. But a way that I can continue to increase my reach here with these podcasts and just reach as many people as I can would be to receive as many 5-star reviews on iTunes as possible. iTunes uses positive reviews in their algorithms to help boost podcasts within their search rankings. So by giving me a 5-star positive review, you would help to that end, and I would be extremely blessed by that and appreciative of you doing that. So if you get any value out of these podcasts, which I'm sure you do, I would really appreciate you just taking a couple of minutes. Go to iTunes, search for the Masculine by Design Mancast, and leave me a 5-star review, please. And beyond that, if you haven't gone to MasculineByDesign.com and picked up your free copy of my book, Masculine by Design, please be sure to do that as well. You're really missing out if you don't. In that book, I explore 4 principles that are quintessential to men living lives of masculinity, the lives of masculinity that they've been designed to live, and that I believe are required if they are to achieve their true potential. Without utilizing these 4 principles and taking advantage of them, I believe you're doing yourself a disservice. So, again, it's a free book. It's my way of saying thank you for being a follower of mine. And all you have to do is go to MasculineByDesign.com, enter your email address and any of the sign-up forms there, and I'll shoot that book right over to you. Okay, so back to the message of today, which is building a coalition of masculine men. So, this has been my goal since I started Masculine by Design, the website. I guess it was maybe November, October, November time frame. I can't remember the exact time. I think I secured the domain in October, but I really didn't get through with the web design and start posting any real content until November. But my vision, as I was putting that together, always had in mind a coalition of other bloggers, other people in the manosphere, as it's known, other guys out there who are doing their best to live up to their masculine potential and who are trying to stave off the negative influences around us that try to get us to repress our masculinity and just buy into the lies that the culture feeds us, that really keep men down. And it actually hurts the culture as well. You know, the culture needs masculinity. I went into that a few podcast episodes ago where I talked about American exceptionalism requiring a revival of masculinity. And that all ties back into that. If men in our culture refuse to be masculine or have their masculinity stripped from them or repressed, everybody suffers. It's not just us individually, but the culture as a whole. So it's always been important to me that I connect with other masculine men, that we can connect together to help expand all of our reach and just really thrive off of one another. And what I found, I guess, was a little bit surprising to me because I hadn't spent a lot of time in the different forums and websites or even on Twitter, really connecting with too many masculine men until I really launched this website. So I didn't really know what to expect. I knew that was something that I needed to do and that it was important, but my expectations weren't really clear. I didn't know exactly how easy that would be to find other men online or otherwise that I could connect with and help build this coalition to help achieve the vision that I really had for both my website and my vision for helping others expand their influence as well. And what I found, I guess shouldn't have really surprised me, but what I found is that, masculine men are becoming exceedingly rare. And I knew that was the case around, myself and my own personal life, in my face-to-face interactions with guys, and within the friends that I have and the people that acquaintances that I've held since college and whatnot. But I also found that it's pretty rare online as well. It's definitely much easier to find the kind of beta men, or the men who are typical in the culture, they acquiesce to feminism. They don't see their masculinity as anything valuable or worth holding on to. They many times view it as toxic. And so it wasn't that easy, and still isn't that easy, to really find a drove of masculine men to connect with. But I will say that those who I have connected with, mostly through Twitter, have just blown me away. I mean, the experience has been beyond what I could have possibly expected in terms of the one-on-one interactions, and the way that these other men who don't know me at all, they only know me through the brief interactions we have on Twitter, how willing they are to help out. I've messaged several of them and just asked a few questions about things they're doing with their business or with their websites, and just asked advice and different things that we've had conversations on, and it's just blown me away with how open they are to provide help, to provide some advice, and just connect. So that's been very encouraging. But the lot has been small. And so, when I think about that, it just really drives home the point to me that much further about how important it is that we connect together, that we all come together. We're a very small percentage in terms of the number of men who are out there and who are posting their filth on social media. There's only a very select small few of us, who still carry that torch of masculinity, who still have that fire within us where we want more. We want to achieve greatness. We want to make our mark on the world and pass that masculine torch down to our sons and to others, to the other men around us who are hurting and who need that message. But what's really cool about that as well, or something awesome really that I found, is that by connecting with each other to help reach others with that message, we actually serve to strengthen each other in that endeavor. We build each other up. So as we connect, not only are we helping to spread that message and to expand our reach as individuals, we also collectively strengthen each other. We give each other insights that we wouldn't have gotten otherwise. We learn from each other's failures, and we help each other to grow, and we provide encouragement to our brothers, to our masculine brothers, and that's just been such a valuable thing for me to see other people who I've connected with who have similar struggles that I have and how they're dealing with it. One example of this is Mark Baxter, who has probably one of the best podcasts for masculine men, I believe, to follow right now. That's the Mark Baxter podcast. So I listen to every episode. He puts one out every week, and I usually listen to it on my way to and from work during the week. But Mark has talked about in his podcast and also on Twitter about his struggles with anxiety, and it's something that I struggle with intermittently as well. And so just hearing Mark's take on it now, he deals with that. One, just knowing that there's somebody else who, is a masculine man. We think that, as masculine men, we have everything put together. We don't have anything that we need to work on. And I think that's a front that we need to stop putting on. I think that we all have our issues, and no matter how in tune we are with our masculinity, or how far we've come, or how much we've progressed toward achieving our potential, we're always going to have weaknesses that we need to hone in on and still work on. And so anxiety is one that I deal with. Sometimes even just getting behind this microphone, I'm not even talking to anybody. It's just me and those of you who are going to listen. And I get, a little bit anxious about that. And then, going about my day-to-day life and dealing with marriage and kids and a stressful job as a project manager. There's just a lot of things that really can weigh on me, and it's really illogical. I've come to notice how, I'll get I'll become worried about things or really think through all the worst that can happen, and it's never as bad as I picture it in my mind. And I've seen Mark, post things about his dealing with anxiety, and it just really hits home. It just encourages me that, I'm not the only one dealing with this. And I saw that, some of the ways that Mark deals with that. I think he talked about meditation. And as a Christian, prayer is a very important part of that in my life. And I noticed that when I get away from spending time in prayer with God, that is when my anxiety kind of creeps to the surface. So, even Mark, maybe dealing with his anxiety a little different way, just reminded me about what I need to do to keep mine under control. So, that's just one example, but it's just really cool to see, men coming together and learning from each other's faults and failures, and just encouraging each other and sharing what we all struggle with, and finding that encouragement and that fire within us to move forward, because we see other men struggling with the same things that we are. I'm actually reminded here of Proverbs 27:17. It says, "Iron sharpeneth iron, so a man sharpeneth the countenance of his friend." So, I've heard it said another way, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. And it's just completely true. And, up until now, I've largely gone at this effort alone, in trying to build masculinebydesign.com, building my YouTube channel, recording these podcasts. And, in terms of the connections I made on Twitter, I've certainly connected with other men, and it's been very valuable for me. But I've tried to do most of this alone, and I've realized that is a failing on my part. I think a lot of men tend to do that. They try to hoard maybe the traffic or the content and everything to themselves, thinking, they don't want to divert the attention that they might otherwise get to somebody else. But at the end of the day, we all gain more attention. We all gain more exposure. We all have our influence felt by such a wider range and breadth and depth when we team up, when we sharpen each other, when we learn from each other, when we share our content with one another. And so one of the things I'm hoping to do here in the near future is start interviewing other masculine men, to have them on the podcast, so that I can give you guys insights from other masculine men that I don't have, and we can learn from each other and build upon that, and just learn. All of us have different backgrounds, right? I mean, there's some of us are married. I'm married. I have three children. I'm happily married, and I recommend marriage. I think marriage is a wonderful thing. I think that it's very hard for many in today's landscape of feminism and immorality to find a decent wife, a wife that's worthy of honor and respect, and who's going to carry that into her marriage, and one that you can stand by and trust. I think that's very rare today. And there are other men who would say, stay away from marriage. It's something that it's just a contract that the government puts in place. And while I don't agree with that, I certainly welcome that message. Let's talk it out. Let's hear what each other has to say, and let those who listen, hear both sides of the story, and let them decide what's best for them. Some of us maybe are married and don't have kids. So those who have children, they bring a different dynamic to the discussion. They can talk about how they're using their masculinity to shape their children and to help them to live excellent lives and to be prepared for the bombarding that they're going to be taking when they get into the public school system, or they graduate school and they go into liberal universities and into the workforce. They can talk about how we are, what actions we're taking to prepare our children for that milieu that they're going to find themselves in which it's a relentless situation. They're going to need to be prepared for that, or they're going to be victims. There are some of us in the masculine community who have been divorced. Mark Baxter is one of those who I mentioned earlier. He was divorced, and he tells his story how he's come a long way. That divorce actually kind of kicked him in the nuts, and helped him to swallow the red pill, where he thought that he needed to do everything in his power to keep his wife happy and to please her and to make her the center of his universe. And she still left him, and when that happened, it really forced him to go introspective and figure out what happened. How did he do all the quote unquote right things and still end up divorced and have a wife that didn't respect him and wanted something different. And so Mark brings that perspective to things as well. And then there's the issue of faith. Those of us like myself and Dean Abbott, we're coming at this from a traditionalist or a Christian perspective, and others don't come at it from that perspective at all. Some may be agnostic or even atheist, or they may just not interject whatever faith they may have into the discussion because they found ways to justify being masculine without it. And so the point is there's a lot of perspectives that we all have that we bring to the table, and each of them is valuable in its own way. And so by trying to go at it alone, we really strip ourselves of being able to leverage each other's strengths, leverage each other's experiences, and use that to form a more cohesive message, one that will connect with all men from all walks of life, that they can find out how to walk in a masculine manner, how to live their lives in tune with their masculinity. And, I think about, trying to do things alone. None of us do that in any other endeavor. We look at sports teams, they're obviously you can't have a team, that wins a championship when everybody tries to do everything on their own. The quarterback can't win a championship if the running back, his offensive line, his wide receivers, if they're not all on the same page, striving toward the same goal and having the same endpoint in mind. They have to have cohesion. The same thing in the workplace. We all have teams that we work on for the most part, and the team has to have the same vision, the same message, the same overarching goal that we're striving toward. Otherwise, we're going to fail. And it's the same thing when it comes to building a coalition of masculine men. We need to come together. We all have the same goal in mind already. We all want to see other men connect with their masculinity, to see the world as it really is, not as they wish it was, or as the feminists and others are telling us that it is. And then when we try to live according to the standards that they put forth, it kicks us in the face, and it knocks us down, and knocks us out. It doesn't align with reality, and so we stand no chance. And when I think about, the most wise and probably powerful man to ever live was Solomon. And so even Solomon, in the book of Ecclesiastes in the Bible, he says, 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. So even this guy, Solomon, who would have more than anybody had the wisdom, the gumption, the foresight to go at a goal alone, even he saw the value in having a team, having somebody else there to bring you up, to help you up when you fall, to encourage you, to bring you along. And that's what building a coalition of masculine men is about. So each of us can do that. Many of you listening to this, you don't have a website. You're not trying to build a podcast or an online business of any kind, and that's all right. But each of us, as we go about our day-to-day lives, we can still build that coalition. And I think that it's of the utmost importance that we do so. My personality type is such that I for those of you who are, I guess, Myers-Briggs enthusiasts, I'm an ISTP, and I'm still learning a little bit more about what exactly that means. But I'm kind of introverted. I don't open up to people very quickly. It takes a long time. I really need to make sure that somebody is loyal and trustworthy, and I don't really open myself up to them right away, and it can be many months or even years before I get to that point. And so making new friends is not a strength of mine. Now, once I have a friend, I'm very loyal to them, and I will stick by them no matter what. But bringing new friends into that fold, that's a lot more difficult and time consuming. So it's not easy for me. This is not something that's easy for me to do. So I'm not preaching to everybody like somebody who has this all together. But what I will say is that I do search for opportunities when masculine men, those of us who are masculine and who strive to live that way, we can sense when we meet other men. We can just sense it. We can tell that they, even if they have no idea what the red pill is, they have no idea what it means to live masculine. They've never really thought about it. There are men out there who have just been raised in a way and who have come to the right conclusions, and they already live that way for the most part. And you can feel that. You can see that fire that's burning inside of them. The way that they speak, the eye contact they make with you, the directness with which they speak, their body language. You can see that in them. And when you find those men, go out of your way to introduce yourself. Ask them out for a beer or coffee or something. Find a way to bring those men into your life. I don't know. I don't have all the answers as far as what that looks like, but you can be creative and just find a way to bring those men in and build that coalition. Over time, you'll have a group of men that you can confide in, that can confide in you, and you all have a similar perspective and similar goals, and you all desire greatness, and you help each other out in that regard, and that continuing to improve yourselves as men as you go through life. And so, however that looks, we need to build that coalition. I'm working on that here with Masculine by Design, and I'm doing it in my personal life as well. And I highly encourage each and every one of you guys listening to do the exact same thing. So just I guess finally, I wanted to give a quick shout out. So the inspiration for this podcast actually came from an interaction I had with the Family Alpha on Twitter this afternoon. He had said something to me about connecting with myself and then another guy that both of us follow. His name is John, but his Twitter handle is Intangible, and it's INTANGIBL and then 3. So it's basically the word intangible with a 3 at the end instead of an E. Both solid follows, Intangible and the Family Alpha. But he had mentioned that, we need to connect together, and I definitely plan on having the Family Alpha and John on this podcast once I get the technical issues squared away on how to do interviews in a way that doesn't compromise sound quality and take too much of my time. But I'm working on that. I'm going to get them on. But anyway, that just inspired me. It made me realize, how important it is that I do make those connections, and that we go beyond just the 140 character tweets back and forth, but that we really build those friendships. As diverse as we may be. I don't know anything about, or I don't know much about either of those guys. Backgrounds. I don't know what they do for a living. I don't know what their faiths are. If they have faith in any religion or God, I don't know. But it doesn't matter, because we have that common bond of masculinity, and we need to reach out and connect with one another on a deeper level. And I think that there's a lot left to be wanting in that regard. On Twitter, I see the couple hundred people that I follow. How we interact with each other, and there's so much gold that goes back and forth in terms of knowledge and wisdom shared. But there's not a lot of connection beyond what goes on Twitter. And so I'm hoping that I can be an agent for change in that regard. And I'm going to try to do my part by at least having men on this podcast from time to time to share their perspective. So that's all for today. So again, just build that masculine coalition around yourself. Like iron sharpens iron. They will sharpen you. You will sharpen them. You'll all be for the better in terms of living a masculine life, achieving your full potential, just motivating one another to aspire towards greatness, and just be all that you were designed to be. So again, if you got anything out of this podcast, I really would appreciate if you would just go to iTunes, leave me a 5-star review. Thank you in advance for doing that. And again, head over to masculinebydesign.com. Check out the content I have there. And be sure to get a free copy of your book, Masculine by Design. You can always email me as well if you have any questions at craig@masculinebydesign.com. Again, this is Craig James for Masculine by Design. Thanks for listening. Until next time, I'm out.